Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I've got Johan with me, our videographer for the last year. And if you don't know him, his surname is Duplessis. Maybe you've seen him in some of the vlogs. How's it, my bud?
Hi.
He literally slept at the office last night.
That's why I look like I've been hit by a rock.
So we've been diving deep into AI for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Now, AI has been around for quite some time. ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022, and I think the excitement that we've had over the last 3 weeks is that it's almost like a whole new world has been opened up based on possibilities and what you can actually do with it. And it's not because anything dramatically changed, it's almost like a perspective shift that's happened. So Johan and I are going to talk a little bit about some lessons that we've learned, some perspectives that we've gained. And I think if you're a business owner or if you're looking to learn more about AI and how it can benefit you, whether it's starting a new business, starting a side hustle, or potentially helping you scale your business faster, then this is the episode for you. I'm going to try and keep it short and punchy, but that rarely happens. So hope you enjoy. Johan, I think my first question to you is, you've been playing around with ChatGPT probably since 2022, 2023 when it came out, I assume. How old are you now?
I'm 21.
You're 21 years old. So you basically can say 10 years from now or 20 years from now that I grew up with AI.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'm going to look back and say, you kids don't understand how it was back in my day.
I still had to tell ChatGPT what to do.
Yeah, now you're just thinking and everything happens. It's going to be so crazy when we get there. And I think we're very close. I mean, that's going to be the next, let's say, yes, dude, probably 5 to 10 years.
So, let's start the conversation by what has changed in the last 3 weeks for you specifically. And I'll obviously share my perspective where the penny dropped. But we were at a bachelor's and we unpacked, with someone, Jordan Platten. I think he was an ex-mentor of ours, well, still like a good friend. We don't have mentorship services with him anymore, but we've become really good friends and we've actually got some opportunities together that we were exploring. And we were at a bachelor's and he was there. And about 60-70% of the bachelors, we just geeked out on AI basically.
Yeah, no, I got back home and my dad said, listen, what is the whole point of going to a bachelor's if you guys were just sitting there geeking out about this whole shift in AI and how it's going to make a difference in the world?
Yeah, so I think my question is people are probably going to wonder why we're so excited about it. So let's start with what happened on that weekend that made you go, this is what I want to put all my energy and all my eggs in a basket. This is where the basket I'm going to put all my eggs into for the next few years. Because you used to be a videographer and then you came to me and like, listen, this is what I want to do. It excites me. I'm not literally awake 18, 19, 20 hours a day, sleeping on the couch here in the office. And my question to you is like, what made you switch? Like what was that thing that gave you that epiphany moment? That what caused that penny to drop for you?
Well, I asked Jordan to show me what he's built in order to just see, because obviously I've been playing around with Lovable, I've been playing around with ChatGPT, I've been playing around with Claude, I've been following Dan Martel for, let's say, 2 or 3 years now. Ever since we started the vlogs, we've been following Dan Martel for his style. And I started actually looking at his AI videos because apparently he's very big in the AI space, and I didn't know that. And I was always confused because it was always a case of like, Dan Martel says, focus all of your energy into AI, it's going to change the world, it's amazing. And I was like, okay, dude, ChatGPT is not gonna ChatGPT is not gonna change the whole world. So I can't understand where his excitement stems from, and that was more out of a place of ignorance because I didn't know. Because I didn't know what I know now. If I knew what I knew now, that would have been insane, and I would have probably have been a millionaire by now. But the big epiphany moment for me was when Jordan showed me the website from what he was building, and that wasn't really the thing that excited me. It was the system behind the website, because it's not just a website. Because when I look at a website, you have your website and you have your different pages and it's a lot of information. And this was something else. This was the website, and you click a button, and now all of a sudden everyone gets an email saying, listen, this is where we are about the clients. This client needs to be onboarded. This client is onboarded. This is the client result. It sends the clients the results and be like, listen, you've gotten X amount of return on your ad spend. And that was insane. Just seeing the system that is built behind the website. And it sounds so weird because I mean, it's a service at the end of the day, but that physical system in the works, and him showing me, listen, I built it this way, because he just chat with it like ChatGPT.
I think it was almost the fact that you're starting to realize that there's really infinite amount of possibilities.
Definitely, especially being around you guys 24/7, well, 5 days a week. It's made me realize where a lot of gaps are. And when you look at the businesses that you guys talk to and you look at the conversations, there's a big common denominator out of all of them, and they all have the same problem. Or majority of them have the same problem, where it's like, listen, let's say in a hypothetical world, we're struggling with X. You guys come in and say, well, we provide Y, but there's still a gap that's not being completely fulfilled. And I feel like that is the gap that AI can come and fill now. Because now you guys can offer a service and you can have an agency operating system in the middle, and that is very personal.
Almost like a surveillance layer to make sure that everything that's supposed to get done gets done, and the way that it's supposed to get done that way.
Exactly. And everyone always knows where everything is in the content pipeline, or in the pipeline as a whole.
Yeah, I think like we're getting quite granular in terms of people might be going, what are you guys talking about? Like, is there a new system that has been released? But this stems from the fact that, you know, you've got ChatGPT, you've got Claude, you've got Perplexity, you've got DeepSeek, and you've got all these models that you can chat to. And most people chat to them and they use it as productivity tools. And I think that's really cool and that's really important. And I think anybody should use it. However, I think that's the tip of the iceberg, really.
Oh, definitely.
So using ChatGPT to help you reply to emails, or even having a system that helps you write a script for a video, or helping you draft a proposal, or updating your CV, all those things are actually just the tip of the iceberg. And not a lot of people talk about the infrastructure that is the foundation of the change that is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So most consumers that are using OpenAI's ChatGPT or whatever, they see the top layer. They see the tip of the iceberg. But when you start to understand what's underneath, you're starting to think more than just, I'm going to write emails faster. I'm going to be able to free up time for myself to do other things. You actually realize that you've got infinite potential to build whatever you want. Now, we know that Lovable, you know, has been out for quite some time, raised a ton of money. There's Bolt, there's Base 44. There is a million different apps probably. And if there's not a million, there will be a million eventually that can help you build websites, and it can help you build your own pieces of software that you can use for yourself. And that's all great. And I think a lot of people will use it to do that. But what we unpack, or what we discussed on that bachelor's, was really the raw fundamental infrastructure that you can create, that you can set up for yourself in order to really build something that's not just a software tool that you use in order to streamline your sales system, but you can literally, at the end of the day, build anything you want that can transform not just your life, but also your business. But the magic layer is that the amount of data that artificial piece of intelligence will start to gather will just start to make it more powerful and powerful and powerful. And I think for myself, for example, and we can talk a little bit about what we've been playing around with, but let's quickly unpack just there's ChatGPT and what are we doing? Like, I mean, what would you call it? Like, because there's Claude Code, you know, there's people playing with Claude Cowork that goes into your browser and does a bunch of things, and that's really cool. But how would you explain to someone what you're actually doing with AI?
Well, I would explain it in the way that I'm building virtual employees, because I'm not only building something, I am completely taking that task off of my back. And I think a lot of people don't understand the power of it because they mentally so occupied with the situation that they can't see that they can replace this whole situation with a digital employee. Like, for example, if you're someone, like, for example, in your case, you have thousands of emails, and keeping track of all of that emails is very difficult. And you understand that every single email can be an email that changes your life, for example, because that is a very true assumption to make. But it's like, now you never have to look at an email ever again. Because all of a sudden, you wake up, you look in Telegram, there's a full report of all the emails that came in. There's certain types of emails that it already knows what to respond, and it does respond that. You can obviously set your parameters to not have it do that. But then there's also a level where it explains that email to you, and you just say, okay, cool, reply to it. It's going to draft a reply, and you just say, okay, cool, approved, send it through. And I don't think people understand how much mental capacity that opens up for them. Because now you don't know that underlying level of stress, because I'm like, you don't have to look at emails, and it's flipping amazing.
Well, that's exactly that, right? So I think a lot of people, like I said, are using ChatGPT, top level productivity. That's cool. But when you start to understand, and it's the term for it is called AI agents. However, again, that's not something new. That's a term that's been around for probably a good 12 to 18 months, where people spoke about the fact that AI can go and do tasks on your behalf. However, the layer here is that the AI agents essentially are not just there to go and execute a task. They can actually start to think, they can actually start to reason, and then plan what is the next task that I need to execute on in order to achieve a goal. So it's almost like you can create a goal and then ask AI to help you build a team that can help you achieve that goal.
Definitely.
So, for example, if you had to say, I want to start a side hustle, and I'm going to potentially start creating videos for other entrepreneurs or businesses who would want to use it for their marketing. You can literally build yourself with the infrastructure that we'll share with you. You can literally go and build yourself a whole team that can help you achieve that goal. You can tell the AI that these are the types of businesses that I would like to work with, and this is what I want to do for them. I want to work with small to medium-sized companies who all need content for their social media. And you can say, ask me anything that you need in order to fill the gaps, in order to help me build the necessary agents, the necessary virtual employees that we need to build in order to understand all the moving pieces that needs to happen, all the different tasks. So the AI will say, okay, cool. Well, how are you going to get clients? You're going to say, I don't know. It's going to say, well, I have looked at the web, I've scraped everything that I can find, and I first want to know how much money do you have? And you're going to say, don't have a lot of money. I can't really invest in something like paid media or Facebook ads or something. Then it will say, okay, cool. I'm taking note of that. So here's what we can do. We can build an outreach system for you. If you take this API, now for those of you that don't know, an API is basically just a key into a specific platform. So there are platforms with hundreds of thousands of emails of business owners that exist. And it's legal to scrape them. It's legal to, when I say scrape, probably it's a bit more gray. However, the POPI Act will allow you to extract information from the web that's publicly available. That's what I mean. So if someone's email is on the web, that agent is allowed to go and find it and show it to you. So essentially, if you have this API key, this key into another platform, that platform with all the email addresses, you can literally plug that into your own AI infrastructure. And that agent will then use that key in order to unlock that database and bring you the necessary emails of the people that it will think will be a fit for your service, hypothetically speaking. The second thing is, well, okay, cool. We want to know what message we're going to send these people, because we might have the email addresses, but what are we going to tell them? And you can literally go and build yourself a virtual employee that's going to help you personalize a message to that person. So if the email is Johan at, hypothetically speaking, sentimental.co.za, then it will know that Sentimental is the website. It will be able to crawl the domain, that whole website, and understand it very well. And it'll be able to craft a specific type of message specifically suited to that business owner. It'll say, hey, Johan, I've noticed that you are in this industry, that you do these things, and here is ideally how I can help. And the AI could potentially have looked at the social media channel, the Facebook channel, whatever it may be, and it'll say, I've noticed that you haven't posted a video, in the last 6 months. Have you looked at video for marketing? Here's why I think it's useful, and this is potentially how I can help. Now, where things get interesting is that if you've got a virtual employee that just constantly finds people to email, and you've got a virtual employee that contextualizes a message to those people, and you've got a virtual employee sending those emails and monitoring them for replies, and if they don't get replies, they potentially follow up, and it runs 24/7 and it never stops, then essentially you as a business owner have become a lot more powerful, because now you've created a system that is potentially generating demand for your business with very little overheads. And the traditional reality is that you would have had to employ someone to do that for you, or spend a ton of money in order to pay a service provider to do that for you, or to pay a premium for a software platform to do that for you. And now those costs have completely dropped to basically almost virtually nothing. However, you have the same ability now as a company that has 30 to 40, 50,000 Rand in marketing to pay someone to do those things for them. So you have equaled the playing field for yourself with someone with no money, and you can compete with someone who does have money. And that is just one example. The other example is you can create virtual employees that if a client comes on board, you can look at them and go, this is the content that we're going to create. There's an employee that's going to do market research. There's an employee that's going to create a content research. There's an employee that's going to script what type of content would work for this type of business. And that is what's exciting, is that the fact that you can actually build your own virtual team. And that's what we're going to be sharing with you today, about the infrastructure that you can set up to go and play around with this. And at the same time, we will potentially just share some insight to, what we've been building behind the scenes. Johan, let's start with you. Like, you've played around with it for the last 3 weeks. You've made a lot of mistakes. You've started projects, ended projects, which is completely natural in this early stages of, building things. So my question to you is, what did you start building? What are you building now? And what is the big shift for you in terms of streamlining the systems and the processes to get you to where you want to be in terms of what you want to build?
So it all started off with me just trying to understand that what is the power of this. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people still, like we've established, they miss that. They don't understand what they can build. What you can build is infinite. So at that point, the world is your oyster. So one thing that I started off building was something that reads through my emails. And then I also realized that, listen, dude, you only get 3 emails a day, and 2 of them are from Shein.
That's hilarious.
So I just built that. I built something that reads my emails and sends me a report on Telegram. And I was like, okay, cool. I never, ever, ever, ever have to worry about emails again. So I was like, okay, what's next? Then I looked at what we do. We write scripts, we shoot scripts, we post videos. I was like, okay, cool. Scripting takes a lot of time. Well, it used to take like an hour and a half to 2 hours. We actually looked at employing a full-time copywriter back in the day when we started.
Yeah, it took us, I think when we figured out the frameworks that we wanted to follow, I think it took us a good half an hour to 40 minutes to put a solid script together.
Exactly. And we wanted to post twice a day. So then it's a case of you don't have capacity. I don't have capacity because I'm editing the 2 videos a day. So we were actually looking at getting someone to actually just script full time. And I was like, okay, well, let me talk at that because we already have a comprehensive, we already have a very big databases of scripts you've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what failed miserably, what did very well. And I just fed all of that to AI, well, to Claude Code. And I was like, listen, I want you to write scripts. I don't know how it looks like. I don't know what you're going to build. All I know is I want you to take these scripts and I want you to write them, and I want you to write them with the right data. I don't want you to make mistakes. I want you to use factual data that you found online. And this was before Claude Code actually had access to like normal internet search. So you actually had to do a scraping API integration. So I looked at Firecrawl or Perplexity API to do the crawling, and it actually did that. And it it was a lot of iterations until the point where it was an actual script that we can post, but it wrote scripts.
Yeah, I think also the important part there was the fact that because we've had a bunch of viral videos, we just said, go and analyze these viral videos and what makes them viral. And it literally be able to tell you, well, here are the dots that I'm connecting on why these posts did well. And here's the dots where I'm connecting on why these posts are not doing so well. And I think on my side, I went with the personal assistant route. So you started there and we were playing around with it. And I was like, I get a couple of emails a day and I'm not always great at responding to them on the spot. But if I could just speak into my phone what I actually want to say and have someone transcribe it, that is essentially something that will be really, really cool. And I literally started playing around with the infrastructures. And within 2 days, I literally had a virtual assistant that shows me my emails for the day that I haven't replied to yet. And I can say, show me email number 1, and I can read it. And then I can literally voice note it and say, please tell, person X that this is what I think, this is how we need to do it. Here's the ideal way to proceed if they open to it. And here's some other thoughts that I think might be valuable. She would literally transcribe that video, put it into an email draft, ask me to review it, and then I can press send. And I can literally say, listen, if nobody replies on this email, please notify me in 48 hours and nudge either myself to check in, or you can just check in for me. That's where it started. And not long after, it's become this massively cool personal assistant that's now kind of like my second brain. Literally, where it's got context. I've given it access to my G Drive. I've given it access to my emails, my whole network, people in my network. It's quite sophisticated that if someone emails me that it doesn't know, it will go and do a LinkedIn scrape on that individual to find out if they are associated with a specific company or what their role is in that company. They would also then take their email and crawl the web for the website that's associated with and all the information about that website. So it will come back with a report saying, this is the person, this is their title, this is the company they work at, this is what the company does, this is their past experience. And it would literally just save that for me as a contact file.
And it gets added to your brain. So now next time they email you, like, listen, this person, and now it has full comprehension of who that person is.
Well, exactly.
So crazy.
So what happens now, I get about, let's say hypothetically, 30 emails, 40 emails a day. I used to get a lot more. I'm fortunately in a position where I've gotten it down to only like 20 or 30. However, there's, let's say, 3 or 4 people that I've never heard from before who might email me. So now every day I'm building up a network of people who I completely have complete understanding of, comprehension of what they do and how they could potentially benefit or synergistically complement other people in my network. And I was sitting there going like, this is getting so powerful. So I said, listen, I think what we want to do is start connecting dots for ourselves. And there's this tool called Obsidian that I eventually built into it. And you can actually see how it's starting to connect dots for itself. And it's now sending me a message every morning saying, hey, I think these 2 people have quite good synergy. Maybe there's worth doing an intro for them. Or it can say something like, listen, I've been reflecting on something that you've been saying. These are the businesses that you've been looking at, and looking at your, all the data that I have on you based on the businesses that you've worked with. These are the industries that are, really growing well based on Google Trends, based on factual online other data, based on, it's just really, really comprehensive information that it starts to connect and gives me perspectives that I probably never would have been able to put together myself unless I had a day or two to, a good couple of hours to think it through. So now I'm just thinking much faster, at a much faster speed. I'm connecting dots at a lot faster speed. And I mean, that's the goal. It still feels primitive. However, I believe 12 months from now, it could be something really, really incredible, helping me with projects and opportunities and people, and helping me follow up with certain opportunities. Like, for example, there was a person that emailed me in October, and it went through my email list and said, you've never actually received a reply from this person. And it looks like they got quite a, extensive network looking at them online. So it might be worth nudging them again. and I literally nudged them, and they replied. We booked a call, and it was a great engagement. So, I mean, they're opening up stores left, right, and center, and there might be some opportunity to put some of our brands maybe in those stores. And I was sitting there going, that is something I would have completely
missed
if it wasn't for artificial intelligence. So I think once you realize that as a consumer, when you go on to ChatGPT, that is the tip of the iceberg. And essentially there's a lot more that you can do with AI. You can build systems for yourself that literally work on your behalf and make life easier for yourself in any way possible that you essentially can get creative. So your limitation is your imagination, really. And everything now has become accessible. This is now, the field has been made even, I'd like to think. And the people that are using this will exponentially grow, and the people who don't will exponentially fall behind. And the last thing I want to say is that maybe let's just unpack what we've been playing around with so that people can get a better understanding of what we're talking about and why what we building is actually possible.
No, definitely. I just want to mention one thing that I think a lot of people think we're very smart. That's why we're building what we're building. I just want to side note, we're not that smart.
Bunch of cowboys.
Yeah. Because AI actually helps us. So when you put your ego aside and you like, listen, I actually don't know what the heck is going on here. I don't even know what I want. This is context about me. This is what you fill in your context documents. And you tell it to go, look at who you are, look at what you've done, look at what you've tried, and tell me what we can build. How can I make my life easier? And that's where it started. The big epiphany moment for me was when I was I was chatting with my parents, and I'm like, listen, I'm at the point now where I want to spend 10,000 Rand, just get a virtual assistant to just do the work for me. And then I started looking for them, and I'm like, listen, they're charging $25 an hour. I'm like, why do I want to pay that? And I got frustrated. And I was looking at in-at-in automations and all of this stuff, and I went into a big spiral, and I just left it. And I said, you know what, leave it. I messaged my best friends, both of my best friends' girlfriends, asking them like, listen, I'll pay you like $6,000 a month. Just come do some of the work for me. So I was quite desperate.
Yes.
And yeah, that was the one very big epiphany moment for me, was when I actually realized that I can now build whatever I need. And it started off with the scripting, where I was like, listen, let me try and build a system where it can consistently provide viral scripts for your brand. And that I built it. It worked okay. I wouldn't say it worked very well, but it was a good build and it was a good trial run.
Well, context on that, it really works well if you don't feed it the right information. Like any good prompt, I think there's one thing that is crucial, whether you're playing around with ChatGPT or whether you're building an infrastructure like what we're doing. We're building an insane infrastructure right now in the agency. I've built up a marketing team for myself who does literally all my marketing emails and YouTube videos gets uploaded automatically, or most of it gets transcribed and creates LinkedIn, and it's really, really cool. But without going too deep into that, what I've realized is it's the information that you give it and the guardrails and all these things that you assign to it that actually ends up making or breaking the efficacy of it. You can either get too strict with the AI, can't really think outside of those parameters, and then you're probably limiting yourself, and you can make it too broad where you can go completely crazy and build a bunch of shit that you probably never needed, or do a bunch of things that you probably never needed. So it's finding the balance that I think is very, very crucial.
No, definitely. And I think one thing that I've built that, I take it with every single build. There's been a couple where I just say, listen, I'm going to move this build. So give me all of the important stuff that is actually useful, because you end up building a lot of stuff. Like you go into a spiral, you're like, oh, I can do this. And eventually you have this it's called bloat. You have this very bloated project where it's answering your emails, it's texting your mom, it's doing your client fulfillment. So it's like, if you look at the niches for the build, it's very broad. So what I've done is I started you taught me this lesson where it's like, condense what you want to do. So if you want something that writes scripts, build something that writes scripts. Don't build something that writes scripts that and answers your emails, that does this and does this. Just build scripts and build a front end for that, deploy it, host it online, use it online.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same as hiring someone full time, right? It's like, what are you here to do? And I think that's the one lesson I've learned, is that if someone is there to do everything in the business, they're probably not going to be able to do it that effectively. And it's the same with AI too. It's like you're going to need different agents in order to do the job effectively, because we'll get into context windows in different episodes. But it's like if you get an employee or a staff member on the first day, you're going to say, listen, all I want you to do is to do this and do it well. Because at the moment you're going to say you're going to do this, there's only so many hours in a day, and they're not going to remember how to do everything, and they're just not technically inclined to do everything. And it's very similar with agents. It's like the more you tell them to do, almost like the output starts to get diluted. So you have to be very specific about what you want, and you have to assign an agent for that specific task. And then if you want a new task, rather build another agent. But let's talk about just the tools that we use. We have to round this up quite quickly, and hopefully there's some value or some perspective shifts that's happening with people listening. What are you using right now in order to build these infrastructures?
So I'm using Visual Studio Code, I'm using Claude Code, and I'm using Claude Cowork as well as normal Claude for a lot of ideation. So Visual Studio Code is the actual, it's terminal. So it's basically it's the thing that enables you to use Claude Code. So if you look at school, you go to school to study a book. So that's the way that I see it, is Visual Studio is the school, and then the book that you're studying and the tools that you're using is Claude Code. So you use Visual Studio in order to use Claude Code.
So it sounds like you're saying that Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, the way we call it, that is just basically the infrastructure that you use in order to deploy Claude Code.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, like if you use Claude Code on your computer, it's linked to a file. It's always going to ask you to link to a folder or a file or something specific. And that's what VS Code basically is. It's like it hosts the files that you want to work on. And you can deploy Claude Code within those files. And you can have a conversation about what you want to do with those files. Now, if those files are blank canvases, you can build whatever you want. If those files already exist, you can optimize them, restructure them, improve them. And I think the beauty is that you can actually remember those API keys that I spoke about, those keys to other platforms. You can build in any keys you want, essentially. You can build in keys that link with Figma for visual designs. You can build in keys that link with Shopify in order to see your stats live, and have an agent analyze your stats and your data in order to give you different perspectives on what's happening. And then you can have that agent talk to the agent that actually writes your emails or writes your ads or runs your ads even eventually. So there is so much stuff going on, and the world is moving so fast that the world is really our oyster right now, and the playing field is really evened out for everybody. I don't think anybody has got an excuse right now in order to not be able to create value in the marketplace. However, at some point, the value will become a commodity. And I think that's where the conversation gets interesting. Is like, are you going to build something that's just making your life easier? Are you going to build something that will initially be a commodity at some point? What are you actually building that is sustainable for your business and for yourself? And I think that's where things get quite interesting. But more on that maybe in another episode. Johan, any last thoughts? Maybe practical steps on setting up VS Code as well as Claude Code?
Well, if you guys go look in the link in the description, self-plug, you guys will see a link to my YouTube channel. I've actually made a YouTube tutorial explaining you guys exactly how to do it from step A to step Z. This is all of the steps that you need in order to go from knowing nothing about Claude Code to actually doing your first prompt. So I highly recommend everyone go watch that. And if you guys have any questions, just contact me personally. I'll happily help any one of you guys.
All right. Well, hopefully there's some value in what we shared today, even if it's just a massive perspective shift on what's actually possible. And you can go and Google and actually just go to Claude or OpenAI, ChatGPT or Perplexity, or wherever you want to go, and just ask it to transcribe this video and give you more insight on what the hell we're saying. And then say, give me step-by-step instructions on how to do this myself. So there's no more excuses.
No, the only excuse now is nothing.
Only excuse now is if you don't have an internet connection.
Yeah, then you might have a valid excuse. But until Elon brings Starlink, you'll be good.
All right. Listen, hope everybody has a good time. All the best. We'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.
Bye.